I mean, I know like neither one of us are very upset the way the game's going right now,
Right.
right?
I can enjoy what I've seen so far.
Yeah, they seem to be for we're talking about the Sunday night football game, Kansas City
Yes,
Chiefs and the Falcons. Um, right now tonight, Will and I are huge Falcon fans.
exactly. Not so much last week after what happened in the final, minute and 30 seconds, but
Right,
I'll get over that eventually.
right. Bygones be bygones, right?
But for tonight,
We shall rejoice.
yes.
Yeah, it's been kind of nice. Yeah. How'd your team do? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you that Saquon has I may not win this week in fantasy football, but
I think I'm
it,
going 4-0 this week, but Saquon,
it won't be for lack of him trying.
so
He's
I
put
did
the
not want the
team on his back.
he had to. We had an all-time great day by our defense for most of the game, holding them to 3 points. And you would think, oh, so like the Eagles are crushing them. No, no, we're not. But
Right.
Saquon did what he had to do.
How mad do you
Sarah,
think the Giants are? Or
right?
at least the owner? Because I mean,
The owner.
right, it was right because it was the general manager basically made that decision.
Yes. Yeah. And
Uh,
so far, and I did not think Christian McCaffrey was going to be as good as he was last year.
right.
But everyone took him number one overall in fantasy, and he has yet to play. Sarah, on the
Oh,
other
wait a
hand,
minute. Because it's the curse of Madden 25, is it not?
it's true. It is true. Sarah in our league had the first pick, and she took Saquon. And I told her, I think Saquon is great. I think he's going to have a really good season. I don't think he was worth the first pick. We're only 3 games into the season.
Ooh.
We are only 3 games into the season, but I'm like, I mean,
You were wrong.
I
Put it this
literally told
way,
her today. I was
we
like,
don't know what'll happen the rest of the season, but as
exactly.
of week three, well, I should week two was a little.
He
I
had
was shocked.
95 rushing yards, no touchdowns, but 95 rushing yards and I think a couple catches. But he has been solid. But yeah, today's game was stressful. I did see that Steelers are 3-0. So,
Uh, and I believe the cow or not the cow. Well, the cowboy. I mean, true, the Cowboys are 1-2,
yes,
but the Bears are also, I believe, 1-2.
yes.
From my understanding, just a few of the stats for Caleb
Was
Williams
was
are two
Justin
interceptions,
Fields problem?
four no, I'm sorry, two touchdowns, four interceptions, and has been sacked 11
Yeah.
times. We don't want to like say like, I mean, no, I mean we can. Like there are some coaches in the NFL that just seem to, people come and play under and they are inspired. And there are some organizations that seem hell bent on destroying their quarterbacks. And
It's so
I am
true.
not gonna say which one is
It's just what sucks is that you have these generational quarterbacks that, and not necessarily the Tom Brady's of the world, because they eventually
right.
grew into it, but like the Cam Newtons, the rookie year Joe Burrows that just come in and set the world on fire.
Yeah.
Now franchises think that
LeVar
that is
Jackson.
what
Right.
rookie Lamar Jackson, yes,
Right. Yeah. Sorry,
they
LeVar. Yeah.
raised the bar for rookie quarterbacks that
Sure.
now franchises feel like you shouldn't have to develop. You should be great the moment you step foot
A
on the field,
hundred percent
regardless of
agree.
how, and they don't even factor in
Do you
the
think it has to
talent
do with
around.
do you think it has to do with the contracts going from, was it 5 to 6 years down to three, and now they're trying to milk
Yes.
instantly and like, hey, we've only got these guys for a brief amount of time, and now
Yeah,
we've got
100%.
to like because I fully believe they're throwing these guys out there way too early.
Yep.
They're expecting to come out like now because you got like Bryce Young who is just crap in the bed, and
Yeah.
I mean, who Andy friggin' Dalton who's got to be 105 at this point. It's the
Right.
one like they because last time I saw, I don't know what the final score was. I know that it was like 22 to
Yeah, he was
nothing.
lighting them up.
The
And I
Raiders.
was,
Yes.
yeah, I was like, that does not look good for Bryce Young, but they put so much on these young quarterbacks, they don't give them time to develop, and they take no accountability in like with Caleb Williams. Hey, our offensive line is terrible. And I know they did give him receivers now, but like with Justin Fields, he wasn't a great rookie or young quarterback, but the offensive line was trash. He didn't really have anyone to pass to. But rather than admit that and say, hey, we're going to give you time and build around you, they're like, nope, he must be the problem. Let's get him out of here. And like you said, now you have Caleb Williams. I'm looking at those numbers and I'm like, so you're just gonna rinse and repeat, and in 2 to 3 years, like, yeah, he's not the answer either. Like, you have to give these quarterbacks time to develop. And it's no shade to Lamar and Cam Newton and these guys that just walked in the door and were amazing. Like
Sure.
that's
There's
great for them.
right.
Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl in like his second or third year, but like that's not how it works for
No.
most quarterbacks.
Right, exactly right. Like that's definitely not the norm, nor and the fact that they you have like a handful of those things that happen because look how long it's taken Baker Mayfield
Right.
to come and do his own and
Yeah.
become like and even like Derek Carr. I mean, like it's again, and it's going to be environment. You have to take a step back if you're going to crap on the Bears organization right now, but you have to take a step back and be like, you almost can kind of like put it like the Cardinals, like, what are we doing wrong that these elite people are coming
Right.
into our system and then failing so bad? Like, what we gotta, it isn't these kids, like, these are number one friggin' draft picks. These are,
Right.
like Heisman winners and stuff like that that are coming in and then,
But then
so
we send them away, and then suddenly they're serviceable. Like, should Baker have been a number one pick at this point in his career? No, but he has bounced around so many teams, and now you're like, no, he's got it figured out. You have to give them time, and so many of them don't get that time. Geno
mm,
Smith, another one. Like, he's up in
right,
Seattle playing decently well. I thought this man's career was over.
right,
He was done.
right. Like he's actually my quarterback in one of my fantasy leagues, and I'm like,
He
thank
was on
you.
the Jets, and then he just bounced around, and then he gets to Seattle, and you're like, yeah, he's just a placeholder. And then they were almost in the playoffs last year, and then this year he's done, fine. Like, you
You
have to
can't,
give them time.
yeah, you do have to give them, but there's no accounting for what a. I mean, I know it's only week three, and like things are like chaotic, and maybe the seas will calm in a little bit, but to have like Sam Darnold and
I,
like
I don't even.
and like, I mean, now you've even got like, okay, like I had his name, and now I mean, like the backup for I just had it was Andy. I keep now
Andy
I'm thinking,
Dalton.
yeah, like I mean, you have these guys, like like Baker Mayfield, you got Andy, like who could have seen like was it Anthony Richardson? I mean, like he's not doing very good
Right.
right now, and like you couldn't have accounted for is like again you got was it Malik
Malik,
Willis
yeah, Malik Willis. Yeah,
and
Will Levis, all
yeah,
those
Malik
guys.
Willis, you have Justin Fields, like Sam. It's the oddest names that you weren't expecting to be like at the top as far as like quarterbacks. Because I mean, I believe that Justin Fields just. I was at the baseball game today, so like I was
Yeah.
getting Steelers information like third hand, but like I believe it was his first game with like his first interception. It's
Yeah.
week three. And he had like still
Yeah.
like a 95.3 like quarterback rating, and and to like the joy of
Hurts
all
has
of the
thrown like
Steeler
four
fans,
interceptions in that time.
to the joy of all of the Steeler fans, like he's proof that you can throw down the middle of the field
Yes.
accurately and
Who
to be caught for a
knew?
touchdown, right? Who knew? And Najee Harris can actually run the ball.
He's on
Now
my
that you don't have
blacklist.
him
I had a chance to draft him, but I couldn't do it because he crushed
because of
my
last
spirit.
year.
Yeah.
Because last year, and you had Matt Canada, who just like again, he was on the road to being a killer, a Bears, like coach killer or like
Yeah.
a player killer. Like you can't have that kind of person in your organization who people with skill come in and then they become trash.
Yeah.
But that's enough football talk. Oh, we have not talked. I know. It's like, oh,
Yes.
but I mean, it's on right now. And the reason I was like signing in early is okay, well, it's getting close to halftime. And if we get this wrapped up, we can go back to watching football. And
Right.
hopefully they won't be saved by the refs this into this thing.
Yes. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Yeah.
But we didn't talk at all. Did you finally get to see
Mm-mm.
the penguin?
I did finally get to see the Penguin, and I did watch the recap for that one. I wasn't able to watch the recaps for Agatha yet. I watched the episodes, but not the
Okay.
recaps yet. So I like the Penguin a lot. It's one episode so far. I like it. I watched Gotham on Fox years ago
Mm-hmm.
with young Bruce Wayne, but the gist of that show was basically like the Gotham underworld for,
Sure.
network TV. So it was like dark, but it was
Right.
whatever. This is like The Sopranos, a
Yes.
really dark, gritty crime. Like it's just it feels very authentic Gotham, and it
Yes.
it it plays into the Matt Reeves Batman universe that we got in the Batman. But I like the direction that
Mm-hmm.
they are going. Again, one episode in, so I was circle back in the end, but the first episode I thought it was just really well done, and it showed that they can build a storyline that doesn't necessarily need to center around a superhero in a
Right.
superhero universe. And so it's good storytelling so far. I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I am really liking. I believe it's I I'm my name. I'm like I have so many names in my head right now. Like I think it's the Sophia.
Yeah,
Not
I haven't
Maroney because Sal Maroney is in jail. It's
Sophia Falcone.
Falcone. Yeah, okay, Falcone. She's so good in it. She's she's
The
like
eyes, the delivery.
in the fact that she's like we get so used to not going to compare her to Heath Ledger's Joker, but she has that command of being able to be quiet
Yes.
and her facial expressions are creepy and you're like she like disgusts you but you can't like look away from her. She's like this magnet but you're just like I don't know, like I'm terrified of you. I haven't found out the reason I'm terrified of you yet, but you're so, I mean, like towards the end of the episode obviously you find out
Right.
she's a little she can handle her business, which
Yeah.
yeah, so gross. Poor Colin
Actors that
Farrell.
can command a scene and a room without yelling. And there's nothing wrong with the people that get loud, but kind of like Jonathan Majors as Kang, RIP to that whole thing. But
Hmm.
he would just talk in a
Right.
very calm, normal voice, but you were hanging on every word. Like
Hmm.
that's how it was with her, when she just glides into the room when Penguin is talking to those guys.
Oh, the
Like,
door opening up.
yes.
I was like, what? Like all of a sudden the mood, and I just saw it and I thought, oh my God, she's like a serial killer. Like,
Yes. Like just perfect casting. I've seen her in a few things. The thing I know her most for is being the mother in How I Met Your Mother, but
hmm.
seeing her, and again, we're one episode in, but just
Right.
the way that when she was on screen, it was just like you were locked in.
Oh,
You're,
yes.
like you said, you're creeped out. You can't look away. You're wondering what's next. And then just the way they have her dialogue written with her brother, it's just like she's curious, ready to snap, but very calm while she tries to formulate everything in her head. Just,
And like, she knows, like, she knows she
yes,
has a good inkling of it, but she's playing. You wonder why she's keeping it so like what is her end game as far as like
yes,
just busting him right out right and saying I know you've done something with him. Just yes, it's just like what are her machinations as far as like what is her end game and toying with him
yeah.
because she's completely playing him like cat and mouse kind of.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, he think, yeah, it's just one episode in. I thought it was a great episode. I am excited to see where the show goes.
Do you
I
think
like
he's
that
a
there's
you don't think he's Mr. Freeze, do you? Don't think Victor is Victor?
I don't think so. I saw that and it's one of those situations where it's like you know what you're doing when you give these characters certain names or you make certain
Right.
references. Matt Reeves has hinted that the next Batman is going to be about Mr. Freeze just because he is, I think, more than once mentioned that it takes place in the winter. And it's like a weird thing to just say. Now, again,
Okay.
it could be, it's going to be after the events of the first one, obviously. That was
Sure.
kind of
And
stupid to
this
say.
is the bridge for it too.
This is
Like
the bridge
they've
for
said
it. You can
right.
see it's still flooding. But yeah, so this next one is going to take place like the winter after or the winter around that time. So there could be a lot of different things, but I know they're changing different things in this universe, but the Mr. Freeze backstory, I don't know. I don't
Right.
think this kid, I feel like he's too young, but I mean, this Batman is a young Batman, but I don't see it. Maybe they want to, maybe it is, and maybe they're wanting to change his backstory because honestly, the Mr. Freeze origin story actually kind of makes you sympathize with him, but it's just a bit.
Well, I mean, like they're kind of doing that same thing right now with the Penguin. Like I mean,
Yeah,
it's true that they have changed his last name to Cobb, and made
yeah,
him working class instead of, the upper echelon. Like his backstory
Cobblepot.
had, yeah, Cobblepot. Like he's, um, yeah, now he's, when he pulls up in front of his mother's house, it's clearly he's not from like,
Yeah,
American aristocracy. It's pretty, um. But yeah, so I mean, like I hope not. I should say this. I hope they don't make him Mr. Freeze. Like,
agreed.
um, but you kind of wonder what if this is in fact the bridge into build up the Penguin character for obviously he's going to play I get a part in the second Batman, but then to say it's Mr. Freeze, like what and you're not going to see the Batman, the understanding is you're not going to see Batman in this series. So clearly, Penguin is going to come to power in some sort of way.
Maybe the thing that throws me off is Colin Farrell, who I don't know if we've talked about. You can't even recognize him. Like
No.
this phenomenal job with the makeup, but he did say once they wrapped filming that he's like, I hope I never have to effing wear that suit again.
But
And
was
I'm
it
like,
the one part where he was strapped to the chair? Because they had to do because like they couldn't just put
okay,
they couldn't just do padding underneath a
yeah,
suit for
okay,
it.
that would make more sense because when he said that, I'm like, did you just give away that you're not going to be in the sequel? Are they going to kill
Right.
you off in this? But
And
that makes sense that it was when he was strapped to the chair.
yeah, because I was like, well, that's a full body thing, and like they couldn't just
Yeah,
whereas like where he's wearing his suits and stuff like they can just put padding on. I mean, he can wobble,
yeah,
waddle, and then they just had to do is they just had to do from his chest, his chest and his face.
okay,
But I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
but
I feel like it would
it's
be a weird way to have the show centered around him and then not have him in the sequel.
yeah,
Like,
because you can't. I mean, I don't know what their plans are for him, but you couldn't kill him. I mean, like to have him end without a Batman, like
yeah,
his only run in with Batman is him saying that, like, oh, you don't know Spanish. Like,
honestly, yeah, because he wasn't even really. I mean, he's a bad guy, he's a villain, but in the Batman, he wasn't really a villain. Like he was a
no,
bystander almost to
right,
the Riddler and the Falcons. Like he was kind of just there, and like yeah, he was a
right.
translator at one point. Like there's no way you kill him off, and that was the Penguin's run. Like no,
Yeah,
don't do
like
that.
that would be an odd choice for me to have like this series be the quote unquote beginning and end of the Penguin and him never come across Batman again. Yeah, so I mean, like that would be weird to me, but I'm like, okay, so you're going. I guess he's gonna have. I mean, I guess he's gonna have ties to Mr. I guess he doesn't have to have ties to Mr.
He
Freeze.
doesn't
I mean, but
have to, but because I did think that this literally could just be him coming to power
Right.
But the show is it's about the Penguin, but the show is wanting to give us a better look at Gotham. And while I think he
Sure.
will be in the sequel, he could be in power, but I feel like he's
Still a
not
background
necessarily.
guy.
Yeah, I think he could be a
Okay.
background guy in the sequel. This show is more about Gotham and what happens between now and the sequel to the city through the eyes, through the lens of the Penguin and the stuff that he does that
Right.
influences the city and their comeback and his rise to power with this, power vacuum. But
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like not a lot of people talked about this show, and I was
It's
excited
so
for it.
good.
And
It's
that
so
first
good.
episode was just it was a great addition to this Batman universe.
It DC did it right. DC had it gave you the I mean, I hate to like with one comes the other, but like you I mean, naturally it's comic I mean it's comic book related, but you're like, this is the thing that Marvel wasn't getting right.
Yes.
It like without being able to like exactly put my finger on what I mean, like one, wait, you just say it's the writing, I mean, it's everything. Okay. It's the scenery, it's the set, but even just episode one, I don't know where this is gonna go, and it might just like, like Caleb Williams crap the bed by the end of the
Right.
series. But right now, it's got that vibe of, oh, this is now I don't want to say old school because people be like, oh, you remember like old school comic book movies and TV shows were not great. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like what Marvel had going on for a while. This is that
Yes.
old school kind of comic book where you're like, yes, you've grounded it in realism. You're making this, and you've already said this ties into the next movie, so people are going to be watching and looking
Exactly.
that are interested in
Yep.
Batman 2,
Yep.
whatever title it comes out. You're going to be like invested in picking out Easter eggs and any little hints. You could get them wrong, but who cares? You're watching it strictly because wow, when this if this ties in, I'm gonna be picking it apart. I want to have all that inside knowledge. I want to know what's going on.
Yep.
And that's
I
and
could
what
not
comic
agree more.
right. And like what comic book storyline is this pulling from? Is it the Long Night? Is it the Long Halloween? Is it Court of Owls? Is it League of Shadows? Like you want it has that. It has that like, oh, think like comic book nerds have a reason to kind of rejoice again.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now we can go through and we can pick it apart like we like to do because we've read these kind of
Yeah.
things. So
One thing I did see that you hadn't really seen since the Batman Begins Batman was the despair, not the despair, the difference in, Gotham and the slums, and then where the Falcons and
sure,
uh the
that
other
mansion.
crime families live, and
Right.
Bruce Wayne. Like, because you saw how dark and grimy it was, and then when you pull up to the Falcone residence, it's just nice. And then even in the news
Right.
broadcast at the beginning of the episode, they're like, well, the suburbs, they weren't really affected by the flooding. Like, they're fine. But then you just see how depressing everything is inside the city. And you saw it a bit in the Batman Begins franchise, but even just the minimum time they dedicated
Yes.
to it, you could just really see the
Oh yeah.
difference between the two and the resentment that really leads to all of the villains in the Gotham universe. It's like it's not
Right.
hard to understand how we got here.
Right. And it's yeah, I mean of course it's going to be I mean like Batman ends up just beating up poor people.
Right, right.
But
The joke I have been going on for years is he's beating up poor people that are trying to make a living. I've always said if he wanted to really help Gotham, A, you get some better security in Arkham, but B, just like you help the people, but instead you beat them up at night. Like,
you're beating up the Robin Hoods
right.
of the people who are trying to get other people
I
money.
went
It's
down
like,
to the docks and I just destroyed like six goons. Like, oh yeah, those guys that they worked an 8 hour shift at the factory. And then they
right,
found out that the Penguin was paying $20 an hour to pull security at the docks. So you beat the crap out of those guys. And
right,
now they can't pay their now they can't go to their factory
right.
job.
But at least your house is okay, Bruce. We
Yeah,
have
at least your house is okay. Oh, the
thank
Penguin got
you.
away. Oh,
Yeah, that's and so I'm again now seeing that they changed the Penguin's backstory in this that like he's working class. You're gonna be like, is
Isn't
again
that
right,
that man is beating up a working class crippled guy? Is this what we're
right?
seeing?
So yeah. It's like okay, I mean yeah, okay, you're part of the crime family and all, but I mean like a bumbling one.
Yeah.
At that I love the opening scene of that where he shoots him, and then he's like laughing, and then he's like,
So
oh.
good. Yeah, and then the title sequence. But even just that, him like that anger and resentment, because yeah, he's a working class guy that has always been near the people in charge, but he's like a butler. Like, yeah, you live in the
Right,
mansion or you're around all of this wealth and you might even get to partake in it from time to time, but like at the end of the day, you know your place. You're
right,
not one of us. And also we're shutting
right.
down your operation, so like get out of here.
Yeah, skedaddle.
No,
Skid-
I love it so far.
yeah, I'm glad. I'm a little confused. I don't. I mean, this is like again first world problems that I'm complaining. I don't like that it's on Sunday night during football season. I think that's the other thing that Game of Thrones always kind of stayed away from coming out in the summer. So
Yes.
I mean, like I'm like not crazy about that because like eventually all of us get a turn at playing on a Sunday night and
Yeah. Yeah. You're putting us in a bind here. Like read the room.
right, like I know, and I think is this going to be only 8 episodes, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. So, and I know the next one isn't, I know, which is a while that they started it on a Thursday night, and then you got to wait 9 days, and then they're going to the Sunday night. It's bizarre to me, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
It's so far, it's a great show. It's been again, like I said, as a comic book lover, it's kind of like I feel like it's something that like I've been missing for a little while.
It's the 29th is the next one. And then it's
Yeah.
October 6th, 13th. Then it's a break.
Oh,
The next one's up. Wait, no. So it's the 13th and then the 20th.
okay.
So, oh, no, I don't know why that felt like that was off. And then the 7th, October 27th, November 3rd, and the 10th. So, yeah,
Okay.
this is the only real break.
Yeah. Which is just like I said, just an odd choice. I mean, like not a complaint. It was just odd that they would do that on a Thursday just to then start on a Sunday. But I could
Yeah.
because I was like, it could have started this Sunday. I was like,
Yeah.
please God tell me that the Kansas City Chiefs don't have that much pull. Like, please. I will hate
Right.
you
They
even
made a call. It
more.
was like, hey,
I will hate you
we're
even
gonna do this on
more.
Sunday. You're not starting this Sunday.
Right. Now going to the flip side of this, you
Yes.
did watch Agatha, the two
I did
episodes of
watch
Agatha.
Agatha. Yep, 2 episode premiere. I enjoyed it. Now, I didn't do my due diligence and I had forgotten how she met her demise in WandaVision. So the first episode I was like kind of confused and then it ended up making sense. I thought it was different. It was enjoyable. I'm curious to see where it goes. Thought the song, The Little Champ, was a banger, but I can't help but think what I thought during Echo and a lot of side projects that I've had with the MCU currently, which is, did we need this? I love Catherine Hahn,
Oh,
but like, did we need this? That's kind of
no.
where I'm at.
And
But
that's
it
kind of
was
how
enjoyable.
I agree with you because, and again, and I hate I mean, I'll relate this to something that I know is the Cardinals is you built this history of winning and you've got a certain formula and then like phase whatever we're in, I don't even know if they're even doing phases anymore, but when they changed it over after Endgame and nothing started relating to each other, you have you have to sell to me why like it isn't going to be just the fact that it's a comic book series like or based on comic book characters is not enough for me. Like that's you set it up that things always related and that this was part of a greater multiverse and that like we were going to the story was going to weave its way through and then I was going to like much like the comics, I don't care how many different comic book character, like Secret Invasion, it weaves through
Yeah.
X-Men, it weaves through Fantastic Four, it weaves through, but ultimately it is still Secret Invasion story, which, that is your end. I never, if you're going to do that and you're going to have like Falcon and Winter Soldier and then like, but everything's disjointed and nothing is relating, it goes back to your point. Did we need it?
I'm torn because I felt the same way. We talked about it a bit during Echo. They conditioned us, like literally what you just said. They conditioned us to have everything connect.
Correct.
And so, yes, when I watch Echo and what's going on in Oklahoma, I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
And with this, it's a cool continuation from a character that was, stole the show in WandaVision. But did we need this? But where I'm torn is there are so many cool characters in the Marvel universe,
Right.
comics and otherwise, that it is sometimes cool to see their vision of Moon Knight or something like that. But yeah, I go back to did we need this? Because like, yeah, should you label it like, oh, this is a standalone thing. It's not going to be included in the bigger universe, even though there are characters and stuff that aren't like, this involves Wanda and Vision, and they are part of the bigger universe. Agatha may not be, and Aubrey Plaza and everybody else, like they might not be a part of the bigger universe. So, with the Batman and all of that, it's well, depending on what's part of that bigger universe, but that Batman movie is separate from some of the other DC projects. But we know that because it's a separate set of actors that
Right.
don't have anything to do with the Justice. Well, I mean, they've restarted that universe, but these completely different actors. Whereas Echo and Agatha, if you're telling me that this is a standalone series, we just want to dig into this character. The issue is that that character was involved with
Right.
someone that is part of the bigger universe, but now you're telling me that this one might not, probably not going to connect. So it just, I've gone back and forth because, like I said, I've got like Echo, Moon Knight, and now this. It's like, did we need this? But the other part of me is like, yeah, but I mean, there are some cool characters, and it's cool to see them have their own little story, their own little mini series. But the other part on top of that is like,
It's the
it has to be
conditioning.
good
Yeah. It has to be
because
good.
Echo could have been a great series, but I hated it because
Just
hate is a strong word. It
Well,
just
because you
this.
you went away from the form. Okay, we as as people who've read the comics, we know who Echo deals with and who she's involved with, and so and we had the Daredevil series and we had the Punisher, and we knew that that was based all in that's all that Hell's Kitchen, and that's those characters environment, that scenery and stuff like that for those characters, and then to take her and to upend her and not, even though we know she's tied to them, and you get like a brief, albeit satisfying scene with her in Daredevil. That's it.
That's it. That is it.
That's it. But it's like we know her to be tied to him in Hell's Kitchen in that environment, and then to put her in Oklahoma and give her glowy hands. Like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
I, I'm all for like, like right now, like, or like if I know that they had like when Guardians of the Galaxy, they had like everybody had their own. I know the Marvel had everybody had their own comic series go off of it, and they were revolving. Like Gamora had her own, Star Lord had
Yeah.
his own. But I get that, but ultimately, the other story was still going on,
Exactly.
and so now you're like, if this was just a TV show to let us know that Scarlet Witch might still be alive, did again, it goes back to your point. Did we need it?
Yeah. And that's well, I have a friend that texted me a few days ago and said, "Is Agatha worth it?" And I have not responded yet. And I want to, but I'm like, because I know people like, oh, it's terrible, it's bad. This is what Disney's done. Like, it was not a bad couple of
No,
episodes.
no.
It was good. The writing was good. It has me wondering what's next. Like, they went down the stairs to the road, and they had the ring wraiths from Lord of the Rings running up on them in the house. Like, it has my curiosity.
But you don't want to tell somebody to watch it whose only like relationship with Marvel is I'm gonna say old, but
Yeah.
old Marvel,
No, I
and
get what
then
you're
be
saying. Yeah.
wondering like, okay, am I when I watch this, what is this going like, okay, now what does these all mean? Like, what's the bigger picture here? And you're like, I if I feel like you don't have to watch it because it's ultimately not going to make a difference in anything. Now, I mean, I've heard that there's rumors about there's a Scarlet Witch movie that's supposed to be in the works or maybe another series or something like that. Okay, but only until then, and you have to prove to me that like with one comes the other.
Right.
Why would I mean, and if the writing just ends up blowing me away and it's just so good and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is great. Like, okay, like for instance, I just finished watching The Gentleman, the Netflix series.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you same universe, like this is how it is. They don't relate to it. It's not like they talk about a past character, but it was so good that you're like, sure, like you tell somebody, sure, go ahead and
Do
watch
they
it,
have
but
plaid
don't
tracksuits?
know that it's not going to have anything, huh?
Do they have plaid tracksuits?
No, but I mean the clothes are pretty amazing.
I remember walking out of the first one with Colin Farrell's
Oh yes,
plaid jumpsuit. And I was like, my entire wardrobe has to change now.
right. Bus to the bus.
Yeah.
All bus, no
Uh,
fuss. But it's one of those things where like unless the writing is like, oh my gosh, you've
yeah.
got to see this. This is going to be, and you're going to have so much fun with it, and it isn't going to matter that it doesn't relate to anything. Fine, but I'm not there yet. I'm with you
Yeah.
in the same thing. People have asked me, like, hey, should I start watching it? And I'm like, let me unless something pops out where I'm like, oh, okay, you're going to need to see this for X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Right now, it's okay. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
good. I love Catherine Hahn too.
Yeah.
Think it's great. But unless you're going to make him Wiccan and he's going to be a young Avenger and this is how he
Yep.
got, like into his power. Right now, I don't want to say it's a you can miss, but with their so much streaming stuff right now, let's wait and see.
Yeah. And that, again, I have not replied yet. I'm trying to workshop it because it's not bad.
No.
I enjoyed the episodes. Once
Yes.
I understood what was happening and she was still under the curse, because I went to YouTube to basically watch the final battle between Agatha and Wanda.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh yeah. So after she beat her, she kept her in Westview and took her memory, made her a nosy neighbor.
Right.
Now that first episode makes a lot more sense. And it's like, oh,
Sure.
okay, so that's actually interesting. Like that was a cool way to do it. And I'm curious about what's going to happen on the road and all these witches that they found. And like, again, the song, I was listening to the song on Spotify, just walking around the house listening to it. And Sarah was laughing at me. Like, I'm not saying it was bad, but with so many streaming services and so many shows and Monday Night Football, and Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, it's just like, do I want to tell you to cram this into your schedule?
Right.
I don't know yet.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know.
Right. Like that's like it's a wait and see. Like right now, we kind of feel like even though the date for Batman hasn't been released, and I don't even know if they're like it's in production, that feels like kind of right now. It feels like
I think they
even
said
if
the
you
script
have
is done.
right, like even if you have to wait to see it and binge it when it's all released, that's fine. But it feels more it feels more must see than what Agatha does at the moment. Well, again, it's good and it's fun. And again, I mean, like the fact that they just put her butt on Disney Plus.
Did not see that coming. I like when she took off when she was going through all the layers of the outfits. Like that was a super cool scene.
Oh, sure,
And then she runs out of the house, and I'm like, oh, okay. And like, but everything was covered, and I was
sure.
like, all right, they're pushing the envelope, but it's fine. And then she walked away. I was like, didn't see that coming.
Oh,
It
her
caught me off
interactions
guard.
with Herb are like, and he's just
Yeah,
like, I mean, our boundaries have gotten a little,
right.
little blurred, but
Now, I will say this show has 9 episodes, which is interesting because Disney Plus, actually, everyone was on the 6 to 8. You either got six or
sure,
you got 8. They threw in an extra one. So the finale, they both drop on the same day. 9 episodes. They release weekly, but the 30th is the finale, and that's 8 and 9. So you get two
Oh,
episodes.
so it's
Two
really only
episodes to
7
start, two
weeks
episodes. Yeah, so it's the
or
18th,
8 weeks or
25th, the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and then the 30th is two episodes.
for Halloween.
Yes.
Wow.
So
And it
that
has
lines
been a
up.
little dark. I was surprised
Mhm.
about how like even though they didn't show like the body as far, but I mean like it was I was a little surprised that it was like, oh, I mean like this is a little darker than what
Yeah,
it was like even the language and stuff. I'm again, I'm by no means any kind of prude, but you're thinking, okay, this is Marvel and it's been a little like she makes it light, like she does a great job of making things like lighthearted, but then like using I don't want to say the F word isn't used in this, but I mean like she'll say and you're just like,
yeah,
yo, this is for adults. Like
yeah,
she plays that line so well that you're just like, I like you get whiplash. She's so good,
yeah.
but yeah, I again I'm like if is it just a Halloween thing? Is it like a what was the thing last year? The Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, like or that wasn't last year.
But
I guess it
again,
was
that was a separate thing that didn't really have any characters or anything that was connected to a larger universe. This show was created, the town and everything is involved with the Scarlet Witch, who I realize is dead now,
maybe
but maybe. But yeah, the thing about these standalone shows when the characters and the storylines are so heavily connected to the larger universe,
right,
you can't then turn and tell me that, well, this one's like, don't worry about it. This one doesn't connect at all. It's like, but no,
right.
because this also exists because of the bigger universe. So yeah. I,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
yeah,
completely with you on this. Like it's good, but I don't know whether to recommend it. Like I'm on the fence about recommending it as far as right now must see TV with everything. I mean, again, because you and I are huge, like sports lovers. So it's like, do I really want to like if it was on a when or if it was on a Thursday night, it was interrupting Thursday night football, even though Thursday night games tend to be garbage a lot of times. Like I I don't know if I would miss football for this.
right.
Whereas like
Yeah.
I when Penguin comes on, I'm going to watch Penguin. Maybe it's the Steelers I'm on, but I mean like
No, I get no,
I mean but
I
like
get
up
what you're
like
saying.
tonight, like if it was on
Yeah.
right now, I would watch it.
Yeah.
I mean because it's an hour and I'll watch it and then the game's still on, kind of thing. Like I
Right.
feel like that's must see TV. This is kind of maybe not
And I
yet.
think they've realized that because, and this goes back to a previous episode where we talked about how, myself included, complained that, you know, two movies a year and maybe one show wasn't enough. And so they started just pumping out more and more and more content. Now my complaint is, oh, you're doing too much. They did say that they're going back to quality over quantity, but I think they had already committed to this. They had already
Okay.
started filming. But I'm wondering if we are going, not wondering, but I know we're kind of going to, but we're going to get to a point where we aren't getting these, I think, unless they connect to the larger universe. But
Do you
I
think
don't.
do you think he's going to start connecting things again? Do you think quality means connection or do you think it just means better writing?
That's a good question. And it brings up
Because
a quote that I saw. I can't answer that, but it reminds me of a quote that I saw today. And it said, it does not matter how good or how much money Deadpool and Wolverine made. The real test to see where Marvel is at as a franchise is going to be Captain America,
New
whatever the
World,
new one's called,
Brave New
Brave New
World,
World.
or
Yeah, they
is it
said
Brave New World?
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was New World Order, and now it's Brave New World.
Okay.
Yeah, they and they. I mean, I read it the quote twice, and I was like, you're not wrong because Deadpool was not going to fail. It just wasn't. It could have been a
Because
terrible movie,
it's been
but
it's separate thing for
it's
years
been
now
its
for
own
two other
separate
movies.
thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's been its own separate thing for two movies. You're also including Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and since we already got the leak of the suit, we knew he'd be in the classic suit. That movie was not going to like their marketing budget was kind of a waste of money, in my opinion. You did not need to run any trailers. All you needed to do was like have a movie poster posted online, Deadpool Wolverine release date, and you would have been fine. That
But
movie
even
is not
then,
yet.
but even then, it tied to stuff in the comics.
It's true.
Do you know? Like, I mean, like
Yes.
that again, even though, like you're right, like it, you're right that where they go from here on out, like Deadpool Wolverine will have no, I mean, she said no, but I mean, we'll have a very little factor on the success from here on out because, like you said, that movie was going to do well anyways. But even they went back to kind of old school Marvel and
Yeah.
with all the iterations of Wolverine that you pulled, and it was all the covers of him in it. Like
Hmm.
you still did
You
what you
stuck
had
to
been
the
known for
source
doing.
material.
Right.
Yeah. Now,
And
I
using
will
his
say,
suit,
yeah, the suit,
the covers,
yeah,
everything.
that movie, I had my issues with it, but it was a well done movie, and they did it right. The fight scenes, there's everything about it. It was really well done. I will say, and again, we've said this multiple times. The reality for me with the MCU is I saw a really cool poster, one of the coolest movie posters I've seen for a while for Brave New World with Red Hulk grabbing the shield. I saw a really cool trailer, and my thought each time I see anything relating to that movie is not, we are so back, let's go. It's, ugh, please don't mess this up. I hope it's good. Deadpool Wolverine did not change that for me. I know people are like, oh, we are so bad. They're back on track. And I'm like, no, like that movie doesn't count. That movie does not count. The real test of where they're at as a franchise with quality and everything else, we will get our real first look at that in Brave New World. February, that is when we find out where the MCU is at.
Right. Because if it has to create that feeling that we had back then where when there were trailers dropped, the like that day came to an end. Like
Yeah,
that day was spent watching that trailer hundreds
over.
of times, like picking out anything that we could about
Yes,
it and about
yes.
where it was going and who it might Easter eggs in it and what it might be referring to, and even just the next, even not for just that movie, but what movie is it going to like
The
lead you
implications it
into?
has on the larger universe. Like the amount
Right,
of times I watched the Civil War trailer, just them fighting,
right.
and then I think the second trailer when it's a lot of the same stuff, but then Spider-Man shows up, I passed out and came back to life. And I watched that trailer over and over and over and over and over, and then I watched it at half speed, and that was it. That was
Right.
what my day revolved around. It was watching that trailer, reading the comments, looking at these people's breakdowns of that trailer. Yeah, are we getting back to that? Because
Yeah.
that's what we need.
That's what you're missing because like now it's like I saw the trailer that once and even then like then you'd have the major trailer, the teaser drop, then the trailer, and then you would have the multiple trailers and you'd be watching all of
Yeah,
them. I couldn't tell you if another Captain America trailer, if other versions have come out. Now again, that's on me. I mean, I haven't looked, but I mean, it used to be one of those things where it was like you made sure you caught it. Like,
you put it in the group. They would tell you the trailer releases tomorrow. Like they would give you hints. And my day was centered around a
yes.
2.5 minute trailer.
Yeah, where you would actually like scroll, like you were like refreshing Twitter because you're like, I want this to pop up. Like, who's the first person to have it so I
Yep.
can.
Going to YouTube and accidentally watching the fan made one and realizing that I didn't actually hit the actual Marvel YouTube page. It was some guy named Jeff in Ohio that has a fan made trailer, and it was
Right.
clips from all these other movies. Like, oh, okay. But yeah, we're
Yeah.
not at that point anymore. Like I
No.
think there's two trailers. I think I've watched both of them. I watched one for sure. But yeah, I the trailer's out and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, what you can be gleaned from this conversation tonight is Agatha, if you haven't seen it and you're not sure about it, hold off on it. Come back to us. We'll constantly be talking about it because we will watch it. We're watching it.
Yes.
I mean, because we for content and like we will make time for this. Like we were comic book people. Like this is what we
Yeah.
enjoy. So we'll tell you whether or not at what point you should jump in, or if even to jump in.
Yeah,
And maybe you shouldn't even jump in until other movies have been made, and we'll see those movies. We'll let you know if you have to go back and watch this, but that's what we're here for. But
that
right
is
now, so
exactly what we're here
that's
for.
exactly what we're here for, is like, don't waste your time. We'll waste it for you.
That's
So
our
Agatha is a
tagline.
whole, what?
That's our tagline. Don't waste your
Yes.
time. We'll waste it for you.
Yeah, don't waste your time. We'll waste it for you. So Agatha is a hold off on it right now. Let Will and I kind of see where it's going, see
Yeah,
if it's worth your time. But Penguin right now definitely is. Definitely catch it. Definitely
yeah,
watch it. If you enjoyed The Sopranos, I think right now, even if you weren't a comic book person, I think you would enjoy like just that type of thing.
yeah,
HBO is great at doing, like a good gangster mob series. So go ahead and watch. So Penguin is a must catch. Agatha is a hold off and wait and hear from us. So
yes.
I mean, yeah, so I guess until well, I mean, I guess we can break down Agatha again after this week, or we can hold off until after
Yeah,
Penguin next. So
yeah,
we'll figure out what to do until then, because again, we catch it so you don't have to.
it's true.
All right. Until then, bye.
Let's see ya.